So, what if homeschooling wasn't about, just recreating a classroom at your kitchen table? What if it was about starting a full-blown revolution right from your own home? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical educational idea called Dear Adeline that wants to do exactly that. It's all about moving education away from textbooks and into real, tangible action.
And this right here is the core promise. It's not just about teaching kids facts and figures, it's about raising kids who are equipped to actually change the world. Now, that's a pretty bold statement, and it kind of begs the question, what exactly is so broken that it needs changing in the first place?
Well, the whole Dear Adeline philosophy really kicks off with a powerful critique of the world we live in. It zeroes in on what it sees as three major failures in our modern systems.
First up, the argument is that our conventional schools often have kids just memorizing a sanitized, cleaned-up version of history. The goal here is to dig way deeper, to uncover the stories that have been pushed aside, and to really face the uncomfortable truths about how our world actually operates.
Next, it takes aim at what it calls corporate greed, especially when it comes to our food. The curriculum really hones in on things like pesticides and giant monopolies, systems that have been built to put profit way ahead of people's health. And that's seen as a central injustice that education should be confronting head-on.
And finally, it looks at our big institutions and argues that they're often designed to create compliance, which can absolutely crush a child's natural curiosity and sense of wonder. So the idea is to completely flip that script, to nurture a kid's spirit, not to control it.
So you can see the contrast is pretty stark. It's a massive shift from a model that basically produces consumers to one that's designed to build creators. It's moving away from an education based on just following the rules to one that aims to spark a revolution, all in the name of creating capable, active leaders.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's not pitched as just some product you buy off a shelf. It's presented as a legacy, one that's rooted in a really personal story. And here it is. This is the heart of the whole thing. Adeline isn't just a clever brand name. It was the actual name of the creator's great-grandmother. The entire curriculum is framed as this beautiful tribute to her wisdom and as a promise to keep her legacy of practical, faith-driven living alive.
This is really what defines it. Dear Adeline is all about this generational transfer of knowledge. It's about taking that timeless wisdom from the past and using it as a kind of rebellion against the problems we see all around us today.
And here's a taste of that wisdom. You'll notice these aren't complicated educational theories, are they? They're simple, profound truths that have been passed down. Principles like hands that create, hearts that hope. Well, that becomes the actual foundation for all the project-based learning.
So how does this whole philosophy of legacy and rebellion actually turn into a curriculum, a real day-to-day thing? Let's take a look at how it works in practice.
The method is basically this four-step cycle. It starts with finding something in the world that's just wrong, something that makes you angry. Then you channel that frustration into genuine curiosity and research. But here's the crucial part. Step 3, you actually build a tangible solution. You don't just write a report about it. And finally, you use that solution to make a real-world impact on your community.
All right, now for the question that I know every parent is thinking. This all sounds amazing, but how does my kid get a high school transcript out of this? How does building a chicken coop or whatever translate into academic credits for graduation?
This is how it works. Let's take their first-year project, building a greenhouse, a farm stand, and keeping bees. You see, designing that greenhouse, that's not just construction, that's applied physics, specifically thermodynamics. Figuring out the soil and the compost, well, that's your chemistry lesson right there. And writing a business plan for the farm stand? Bam, you've got business, economics, and even English. It all connects.
And get this, that one massive first-year project, the whole shebang, earns a total of 6 full high school credits. So this really shows that the approach is academically serious. It's just integrating all these subjects into a real-world context instead of teaching them in boring, separate boxes.
So let's pull back for a second and look at the ultimate goal here. Because it's not just about credits and transcripts, right? What is the long-term vision for a kid who goes through this kind of education? The outcome isn't really a GPA, it's a portfolio, a living resume of actual real-world impact. It's about developing the skills to launch your own business or start a nonprofit. The whole point is to prepare them for a life of purpose, a life where their work is a direct extension of their values and their faith.
And that leaves us with this final, really powerful question.
It completely shifts the focus from what will your children be when they grow up to something much more active, much more immediate. What will your children build? It reframes the entire purpose of education, moving it from just passively receiving information to actively creating the future.